Alright, I would like to talk about Xenoblade Chronicles 3. The plot of this game is pretty good. I'd probably give it a 9 out of 10, maybe a 10 out of 10. It's about two worlds that are about to collide with each other, and then they put all of humanity's consciousness into machines to fly into outer space. And, the AI that is used to manage those machines' consciousness doesn't really want to know the outcome, so it suspends the reality in a perpetual state of now. Basically, it's kind of like a tailing of Schrodinger's cat. We are the cat, and the AI is kind of like the box or the observer of the box, and the AI doesn't want to find out if the cat is alive or dead, so instead it just lives forever not knowing. That kind of is the allegory a little bit, at least how I interpreted it. And the whole plan is that both the populations from the two colliding worlds are going to fly off of the planets and let the planets merge together into one. And then when they merge together into one, they're all going to land on the same planet. And if that does not succeed, then everybody dies. If it succeeds, then everybody lives. And that's kind of where I get the Schrodinger's cat reference. Has a little bit of a parallel in my mind to Nier Automata, but I think I'm going to make a separate video about that. Nier Automata being the death of Schrodinger's cat, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3 being the life of Schrodinger's cat, and how they kind of tell different stories in that regard. Anyways, plot of this game is basically the only reason to play this game. The music I found to be too fluty, if that even makes sense. There's all kinds of flutes in this game. Whoever made this soundtrack absolutely loves the flute, and I found the music to be mostly obnoxious through the entire thing. I didn't really enjoy any tracks. It wasn't like playing Persona 5 or Final Fantasy 7 or Chrono Trigger or Chrono Cross, which is probably one of my favorite soundtracks of all time. It just kind of was just a clash of a bunch of different sounds together that I did not enjoy. So music, not so good. The open world was rather bland and boring, and most of the entire environment was there just to kind of pad game length to make you run from point A to point B. The side quests are atrocious. These are side quests from like 2008. Most of the ideas of this game are from 2008. The side quests are so fucking terrible. There's absolutely no reason to do them. Absolutely no fucking reason. It's fetch quests, fucking guard missions. It's the worst imaginable side questing as possible, and there's a ton of them. I maybe did 10 total, so I could be wrong. Maybe there's great side quests in there, but after doing 10, I was never gonna do another fucking side quest. The combat, not for me. It tries to mix action with role-playing game elements, and I don't think it does a good job. Mostly, it's super cluttered, and you don't even really care about the action elements. You're just kind of standing next to the monster, hitting buttons kind of when it tells you to hit buttons. It's almost like a fucking parappa-to-rappa or some type of quick-time event combat system. You can have some inputs in it, and the whole point is just kind of sit there and hit your buttons until your link gauge fills up, and then you do a bunch of link combos, which take up a bunch of time. And I didn't really find the combat in this game enjoying in the slightest. It was kind of fun sometimes to see number go up. You do the link thing, and it's like, yay, number go up. But for the most part, I felt the combat was rather trashy. And the UI is absolute dog shit. So one of the things, you're running around this world, and you got these things to run and get. None of that really matters, because the gearing system is pretty shit. So you have accessories, and this is all you get. You get 3 pieces of gear, and you don't really give a fuck about this shit. It doesn't make that much of a difference. It's not like the materia system in Final Fantasy 7. It's not like the gear in Dragon Quest 11, where you actually kind of like your gear. You can upgrade your weapons. None of that. It's just boring. You might as well not have it. Literally, you might as well not have it. This is just useless. And each character gets it, and it's just kind of useless. And the class systems are kind of cool, except for the only reason you're really playing a class system is to max out the class. You basically play a class until you max it out. Once you max it out, then you switch. And that means you're not really getting that much depth in a class. You're just playing a class simply to max it out. So at the very end, I just stuck to the main class because it goes level 20 versus level 10 on all the others. Maybe all the others go to level 10 through other stuff. but the gameplay is not good enough for me to go do extra shit in this game. I got the plot. The plot was great. Gameplay, not so much. UI, not so much. So I didn't really like the class system. Way too many classes for like what they do, and you can't really like specialize. There's no subclasses. Yeah, I didn't like the class system. Mostly, I didn't even care what class I had. I just had to make sure it was balanced between having a healer and a guard and then attacks, because you need a guard to get aggro and you need a healer to revive. Arts also, this was important. Managing your arts on both sides is actually pretty good. You want to be able to make sure like your guards are together here in case you want to do them both together and a bunch of stuff like that. So that part wasn't too bad. Gyms, another useless section. This was better than everything else though, because at least with the gyms you can make somewhat of a thing. I like to put increased block rate by 17% on all characters. So all characters have like a base block chance of 17%, which is like 17% reduced damage. So I feel, you know, this section, gym section, was pretty cool. Clothes is mostly shit. It just lets you try different things on, but I don't really care about the cosmetics of anything. The interlink system was kind of, I mostly avoided it. It helped out a lot. If you're taking a lot of damage, you can interlink and then join in your things, and you can hit a combo with one, then switch, and then hit it with another, and then get out. For the most part, that's all I used it for. So it wasn't that good, not that well thought out. And when you're running through the open world, you got these little things to grab, but because nothing matters, like nothing, I don't give a shit about anything. So I don't give a shit about grabbing this stuff. It's just there. You like run, maybe to make your running from point A to point B feel better. I don't know. But you could target these enemies and fight them. And if you look at the menu, the right menu is way too to the left, and the left one is way too to the right. Like, why the fuck can't they just move it to the right so you can see the middle part? Like, my character's covered with menus. This is just a terrible fucking game design. And as you see, mostly I'm just hitting the buttons as I said. You wait for the thing, you hit the button, you repeat. I'm playing a tank right now, so I aggro damage. And I think if you're gonna try to like hybrid between action and role playing, it never works well. It didn't work well in Final Fantasy Crisis Core. It didn't work well in Final Fantasy VII Remake. It just doesn't work very well to try to mix the two. So you pick one and make it good. So if this was action-based combat instead, they can make it almost like Dark Soulsian, where you can put your skills on certain buttons, maybe use 4 skills at once, and then you have your light attack and heavy attack and a guard maybe, and then this combat would be more useful. You definitely want to remove all of this fucking screen clutter. Just ridiculous. But as it is, it's mostly the same as a regular RPG, except for you only can mostly control one character at a time, and you just hit these buttons until you get to this chain attack, and then you hit the fucking chain attack, and you see this chain attack. And you just go through the fucking trudge of doing this fucking chain attack. That just takes so long. It's so unengaging. And I really do not like it. I found this chick to be the best. She gives you a fucking 200% guaranteed. Like that. Start you off super strong, and so then you're basically just becoming a badass the whole time. It just takes so long. And one of the last quests you do in this game, it tells you to find 4 pieces of core fuel for your spaceship thing. And it's essentially a fetch quest. The very last quest in the game is a motherfucking fetch quest. And you have to go fucking search out these things. And by this point in the game, I mostly just wanted to finish the game to see how it ended. To get the story, to get the plot. And they made me do a fetch quest. And I was pretty pissed off about it. I almost just put the game down and then Googled the ending and watched the ending that way. But I powered through and finished it. And I'm not going to say whether I regret or don't regret powering through. But this game is getting a lot of praise. And its plot, I just think, deserves the praise. And I'm happy for Xenogears creator, because I played Xenogears the original. I'm happy for the creator to get his vision out there and to get a bunch of support from Nintendo. Let's end this stupid chain attack. Like the story of the creator of this game is super fascinating, and I'm happy he's having success, and I'm glad that there's role-playing games like this that exist, but I don't like it. I just don't like the game. Like the core mechanics of the game, there's nothing I like about it, really. So that's my opinion of the game. I would say if you're going to play this game, you're mostly doing it for the plot. Obviously, a lot of people love this combat. Some people might like the side quests. Like if you're a completionist who doesn't mind monotonous quests that are fucking boring and have no point other than go get this thing to make this townsperson who doesn't matter happy, then fine. But if you don't like that kind of thing, and you want combat that's either engaging like Dark Souls or like classic turn-based strategic like Dragon Quest 11, where you can actually kind of relax and you select your attacks and you do your stuff and there's not all kinds of fucking chaos going on that doesn't really matter, it's just window dressing for you to select your skills, then this game might be for you if you don't mind those kind of things. But for me, I'd rather play Dark Souls, or I'd rather play a turn-based. I'd rather have it be action-based combat or Dark Souls. I think Nier Automata did a pretty good job of doing a really good storyline with action combat. Also didn't really like the Nier Automata action combat too much because the dodge was kind of bullshit, super easy to use. But it was at least more engaging than this is. This is not very engaging at all. So if I were to rate this game on a scale, I'd have to give it 2 scales. One for the plot, which I'd give it, let's just give it a 9 out of 10. And then the other one for the rest of the game, which would for me would be like a 4. I feel this is outdated in every single way in terms of what I want from a role-playing game. Because you can go modern, like Final Fantasy 15, which I didn't like. Or you can go classical, like Dragon Quest 11, which I loved. Or you can try to do your own thing, which is what they try to do here, kind of. And I didn't like their version of combat or gameplay. The map design was kind of convoluted. There wasn't enough to explore, and when you did explore it and you got the loot and the rewards, it was to upgrade shit that I didn't care. There's no weapons in this game, really. You just have your base weapon for your class, so you're not getting any weapon upgrades or nothing like that. So this game left me with a lot to be desired, and I feel this is a contrarian opinion maybe, because most of the people are giving it glowing receptions, and I disagree with those glowing receptions. That is all.